Your organisation runs training courses for your staff and customers. Only problem is it's time-consuming, inconvenient and costly. Take a leaf out of our book. The School of Hard Knock Knocks uses the online training platform by YZ, and our team and customers love it. It's simple to use, supports every media format, audio, video, text, and looks great on desktops, tablets and mobiles. And for a limited time, quote SHKK when you arrange a demo and get 10% off your first year's plan. YZ helps us deliver comedy courses around the world. Imagine what it could do for your organisation. YZ, that's WYZED.com. YZ, online learning made simple. You're listening to the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast with me, Maury Morgan.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next comedian.
Shouldn't drink on an empty head, you know that, don't you?
That is the shittiest heckle I have ever heard in my life.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
That's a bucket list.
You have dangerously underprepared yourself for the shit that is about to get real.
It's fair to say Julia Wilson is not afraid of conflict, both verbal and physical. Prior to her 17-year career as a stand-up comedian, Julia was a truckie, a bouncer and a bodyguard. More recently, she's got into NFL, American football, and in a big way too. She's quite possibly the toughest woman in comedy. In this School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast episode, Julia talks about her tough persona, being punchy as fuck in her comedy routine, some rules of thumb as a female stand-up comedian, and not giving a shit about what other people think, which according to Julia is the reason for her success. And if you're thinking about trying stand-up comedy yourself, you might be pleased to know that we're beginning to announce course dates for Adelaide, Melbourne and Sydney throughout 2019. That's right, the School of Hard Knock Knocks is quickly becoming Australia-wide. So, whether you're a comedian of the future or a bucket list ticker, you've got more opportunities to get up on stage. And now, here's Julia Wilson.
Every festival time I have a sign language interpreter come in and do the show for me. And it's very, very cool because not many people look after the deaf community in a live environment. And how it works is I stand here, right, and you haven't picked it, but I talk fast, there's me, right? The sign language lady, she stands over here trying in vain to keep up with me. He's sweating quite profusely, right? And the deaf community sit on the same side as the sign language lady, and it's very, very cool. I really enjoy doing it. But there's a few things that can go wrong that fucking no one warned me about the first time I did it, right? I've been doing it for 4 years now with a sign language interpreter. Very, very easy now. First time, no one warned me that there's a delay between when I'm finished telling my hilarious cock joke, right? Yep, from there to here when she's finished signing my hilarious cock joke. How hard is that? $150 a night. That's all she did, right? So there's a delay from me to her, cocks, right, to the deaf community reading, cocks, right? So there's this delay. And it's about half a joke. It means that at the end of my first joke, hearing community, cocks, always funny, right? Nothing from the deaf community. Nothing at all, right? I'm thinking that's a bit weird. Everyone has cocks or they like them or something. Oh, they're funny to point at. What's going on, right? Nothing from the deaf community. Oh, that's a bit weird. Halfway through my second joke, woof! They all come in, 35 of them, all at once. Bang, right? Jesus fucking Christ almighty, right? No one warned me that deaf people... See, when hearing people learn how to speak, it's a trial and error process, right? You can hear, you're trying, you hear, you're trying. When you're deaf, you're taught how to shape your mouth so you sound as much like a hearing person, right? That's wonderful for when you're learning how to speak. It means deaf people are always thinking about how they sound when they talk. But when you laugh, you just fucking laugh. Yeah, it just comes out, right? And nobody warned me that deaf people, on the whole, when they laugh, tend to sound a bit like this. Funny nothing, halfway through second joke, 35 people at once, right? And so I, being massively professional, go, what the fuck was that, right? The sign language lady, doing what I pay to, goes, what the fuck was that, right? I go, don't repeat that, idiot. She goes, don't repeat that, idiot. I go, I will fucking go you. She goes, right? The deaf people realise they've put me off. They think it's hilarious, right? So they take it up a notch.
Good afternoon, Julia. How are you?
G'day, Maury. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm in Melbourne. You're in Sydney.
I am, and we have very different weather patterns today.
Dust storms, I heard.
A giant one. That's like the Sydney Harbour Bridge disappeared for a while there. Brilliant.
Oh, wow, like beyond Thunderdome. Mad Max.
Yeah, it looks like some kind of apocalyptic event happening. It's bloody hilarious. People are losing their mind. They can't drive. Everyone's freaking out. I love this kind of thing. I like watching the humans lose their mind.
Yeah, particularly the tourists who are like, but where's the kangaroos? Freaking out. Maybe the Americans only know us from Crocodile Dundee and Mad Max, and they're
maybe they're walking and going, "What's going on? What do you mean 2 men enter and 2 men are allowed to come out? That's not how it went, Mad Max."
That's right. Yeah, it's like those portaloos. Anyway, we move on. Let's get started because, Julia, I'm learning a lot about Sydney-based comedians, although you've more than just a Sydney comedian. You've done the whole hog of Australia and overseas. When I asked around and I said to some of the top-level comedians that I know, who should I interview next? Julia Wilson came up. Yes, and...
I think it's because I've had such a rich history before I started doing stand-up. I think that's probably why.
I think that's
They went, she's got a story or two, get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned in my questions, I've got a question about how do you stay relevant. I think you've done that and you're still out, performing after so many years. So let's get started. You're described either by yourself or by a very good PR department as the toughest woman in comedy. Now... That's not me. I've never called myself that. No.
But, gee, it's the thing that gets mentioned all the time, and it makes me laugh a lot. So I was a bouncer and bodyguard for 10 years before I started doing stand-up. So that's, like, I can fight my way out of most situations.
Yep.
And if it's a situation I can't fight my way out of, I'll find a chair if I have to.
Right.
I will hit someone with something, but I'm definitely getting out of there okay. So the idea of doing stand-up, when people go, it must be terrifying, it must be the toughest job. Like, no one wants to punch me in the face doing stand-up.
No.
I've never had 15 people go, nah, you're not getting out of here alive. So as far as I'm concerned, it's the best job I've ever had, but it's also a cakewalk compared to, I used to be a truck driver.
Yep.
I was an accountant, did bouncing for 10 years.
Yep.
I've been a landscaper. Like, you name it, I've done it. It's mostly labouring jobs. The accounting job was the weird one out of that.
Yeah.
So anytime someone goes, it must be so tough, I go, yeah, I'm not digging ditches for a job. I'm fine. I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. And bodyguard is an interesting one. You slipped in there. Are we talking like when a celebrity comes to town or is it the mafioso?
Yeah. It was mostly corporate work, and whenever I was working in one of the, rougher pubs and there'd be a band playing there, if they thought that it might turn, they'd be like, can you do me a favour and just follow that guy the whole time? So you're like, yeah, no worries at all. So, yeah, you get paid quite well to follow a rock star around and like glare at the locals if they look like they're going to go over and go, you think you're good, don't you?
Oh, that's amazing. So you wouldn't have to do Bodyguard like the movie Kevin Costner and take a bullet?
Not for like $18 an hour, which is what I think I was earning back then.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I think Kevin probably got a bit more for that one. Oh, that's exciting though. Fascinating.
Honestly, I loved it as a job because I worked in mostly live band venues.
Yeah.
So I was getting paid to, essentially, you're getting people in and out of the pub. You're working out how drunk they are, if they're going to be a problem inside, or if they're just going to go inside and have a good time.
Yep.
You create a nice, safe environment inside, and then you go inside and watch the band. And so I was getting paid to stand and watch some of my favourite bands, like Sprung Monkey from America, Agent Orange.
Yep.
They came over. Henry Rollins, I'm a huge fan of his. So
awesome.
To get paid to stand side of stage and watch him just scream his guts out, I was like, is there any better job than this? I don't think so. But then I discovered stand-up, and turns out there was.
Yeah, instead of being the watcher, you become the watchee. Yeah,
because I never had any intention to do stand-up.
Yeah, so
it was only
So where did that happen? What was the trigger?
I don't know if you've ever worked in pubs, but when you work in a pub, maybe not these days with responsible service of alcohol and all that kind of stuff, but back then, when you worked in a pub, the bar staff and the bouncers would sit around afterwards and have what we always called staffies, and you just sit around. There were no punters inside. Everyone gone home, and everyone just sort of sat around and had a few drinks and told war stories about what had happened that night, because we're all in different parts of the room. Everyone would see different parts of an event happening, so the bar staff would be like, yeah, he said this to me, and then one of your boys came over and grabbed him, and he'd tell his part of the story, and then this happened here, and then we'd all just sort of sit around and talk. And there's usually sort of 15, 20 people in that room, and I would start sort of just telling the dude beside me what happened that night, and then after a while I'd look up and realise that everyone had stopped having their conversations and everyone was listening to me tell these stories, and the guys were like, you've got to get up and do that on stage. And I was like, do what? I'm just telling you about the dickhead that tried to punch me in the face. Like, there's no comedy there. That's just what actually happened tonight.
Right.
And then I just kind of fell into it. I had a couple of friends that were really giving me a hard time about giving it a go.
Yeah.
And I've grown up watching stand-up since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I have loved My parents watched Graham Kennedy
Yep.
and Bert Newton and Don Lane and those guys when I was, and Blankety Blanks, and then I found the young ones and the D-Generation and the Big Gig. So to me, comedy was a form of escapism that no one could touch. Like I loved it dearly. So the thought of getting up and trying stand-up and maybe sucking at it was not even on the... Imagine that. Imagine the one thing you love, you suck at, and then you can never watch again. So I had no interest in doing it.
No.
But I went out and got super drunk with a friend of mine,
Yep,
which is
always
there are some
helpful.
recurring factors throughout my story.
Yeah.
One of them is being super drunk with my mates. I went out, just with a mate of mine to the Basement in Sydney, which is, was an iconic venue.
Mm-hmm.
And Raw Comedy was being held there that year.
Yep.
And he'd said, this poster, Raw Comedy, you should give it a go. And I was like, no chance, mate. I'm not even going to risk it because I love that as an art form.
Yep.
And the more we drank, the more he convinced me. So I finally said, if it makes you shut up, I promise I'll enter the competition, assuming that because it had already started that year that I would be in the next year.
Yep.
So we got back to my place, jumped online, and I can't remember whether he filled out the details, whether I filled out the details, but I woke up in the morning to a cranking hangover, and the chick that was organising the competition that year ringing me going, "Hi, it's Kate here. Just telling you that you've got a 5-minute spot in 2 weeks, so if you could just have that ready to go." And I was like, "What have I done?"
And how did that 5-minute spot go?
Oh, you know what? To this day, it's probably the best gig I've ever had.
Yeah.
I absolutely stormed my very first spot, and I think if I'd sucked balls, I probably wouldn't have gone back.
Yep.
But I stormed my first spot and just went, I knew from that very moment, I went, yep, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life.
Awesome. That's amazing. So,
but I was way more intimidated when I got there. I wasn't scared about the audience at all, and I've never really been afraid of the audience because, as a bouncer, you're getting 1,000 people in and out of your venue every night. They're all drunk. They've all got, they all think they're hilarious. They're all, rah, 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 rah.
Yep.
So big groups of people never really scared me. But that first gig, I was 100% freaked out by the fact on that stage, Billie Holiday had sung on there, Ella Fitzgerald had sung, B.B. King had played guitar, and like Ray Charles. I'm a huge blues fan. I'm like, who the fuck do I think I am? I'm about to go out there with my dirty little jokes and dodgy little stories on this stage that have held actual royalty. I'm like, what? This is insane. So I was 100% intimidated by the stage, but not by the audience.
Yeah, that's great.
I walked out, looked at the carpet, and went, "Oh, what am I doing?" And then I heard and looked up and went, "Oh yeah, there's 400 people waiting for me to say something. I should probably do that."
Awesome. And now I'm assuming when you talk about these drunk wankers, they're predominantly men because it's kind of what we do, isn't it? Get drunk, and I imagine there'd be some women in there as well.
You know what? I worked in rough pubs, and the dudes were all. It's there's an interesting psychology behind drunk groups of Australians. Actual top people aren't that much of a problem, right? Real hard people, it's fine. It's your weekend warriors who think that they think they're kind of, I'm going to say hot shit, but those people that are just like, I've got an office job 9 to 5, but on the weekend I like to throw my weight around.
Right.
And this isn't gender specific. I've seen just as many chicks be wankers as I have dudes. But I found within my generation of drunks, because it's a bit of a different thing now. I'm 43. My generation of drunks were like 14 to 35. That was when I was doing most of my drinking.
Yeah.
They didn't want to fight, but if they absolutely had to because someone had pinched their girlfriend on the arse or someone had taken their place in the pool table, they were very happy to let one of their friends hold them back. So there was an awful lot of, I don't really want to fight, but what did you say, mate? Fucking come on, let's do that. Lots of yelling and screaming, but not a lot of punches thrown. But if ever two brothers started to punch shit out of each other, or flatmates, or workmates, there's an underlying bubbling issue there that they are going to punch on until one of the two of them runs out of energy. And you never, as a bouncer, you never want to get in between that because you're going to cop punches from some side. So I used to count. I'd let them trade 10 blows each, and then I'd go, all right, they should tucker themselves out now. And I'd go in and separate them because they're not fighting for no reason. There's something's happened. Someone's done something they shouldn't have or said something they shouldn't have. Like, there you go. As long as no one else is getting hurt, you do that. You punch it out of each other for a while, and then I'd separate. But you could also, you definitely see dudes that were like, I don't want to fight this guy, but society kind of says I should, so I'm going to have to front on. And they're very easy to break up.
Yeah, right. Thank God, where were you?
But it's actually interesting watching women fight because women are well aware of the fact that hardly anyone's allowed to touch them. So they get quite brave and quite They spit and kick and lots of glassing happens with women. Tend to glass dudes quite a lot. So it was always interesting, again, the psychology of that, where I'd walk into a room and you'd see a chick go, oh, shit, this chick can actually throw me out and no one's going to stop her. Whereas if a male bouncer walks in, the dudes kind of go, ooh, you're not allowed to touch her, but equally someone needs to contain her, and there's just this kind of air of confusion.
Yeah.
But because I'd been fighting in those pubs for a long time, as, of the rougher ones, if it kicks off, it properly kicks off. The chicks would see me and go, no, time to stop now, time to leave, let's go.
There you go.
So I very rarely had to actually be phically, aggressive with any of the women.
Yeah, right. Well, no, and that's a fantastic tip for anyone listening to this podcast, ladies in particular. I wanted to sort of go the direction of, because a lot of your clientele that you were looking after were men, that your stories and the way that you behave on stage, does that naturally lend itself towards a male audience?
Yeah, it kind of does, but I don't know. I reckon I found being a bouncer because of my personality. I don't think that necessarily, I don't think I learned that as a learned behaviour. I was always a super tomboy. I've always done full contact sports. I was always the kid that I remember doing BMX racing, and there was no girls' class of BMX racing, so I raced against the boys until I got to the state level. Yep. Just because there was no one else, and I played roller hockey, and there were very few women playing roller hockey, so I just played against the boys or the guys at that stage. I was 16 or something like that. So it's, that part of my personality, I kind of fell into bouncing because a mate of mine needed an extra guard. And then from bouncing, I kind of fell into stand-up. And when I first started, it was really male-dominated. And it never even occurred to me that it was male-dominated. I'd always done kind of boy jobs, truck driving. I was the only chick doing that. Yep. It just didn't occur to me that I was, like, in the minority. I was just, I guess if I looked around and went, I only see 2 women and I see 18 men, it might have occurred to me. But because looking around, all I saw were men, it just didn't even dawn on me that it was weird that I was there, or that it was a challenge that I was there. Yeah, right.
Interesting. We did off air talk about Christine Basil, who we both know, and
I fucking love Christine.
Well, she almost said exactly what you just said there, verbatim, which is she has never noticed being the only woman in a lineup throughout her career. She's she must be 30 years in comedy, I think, roughly. So
I'm 17, so I always looked up to her. I'm 17 years doing comedy, and I always looked up to her, not only because she's amazingly funny, she's such a fucking top chick on and off stage that I always went, that's, if I had to kind of take my lead from anyone, not that I ever specifically went, I need a female role model, but when I met Christine, I was like, she's a bloody champion. Yeah.
No, she's good. Now, so I want to ask for maybe some advice on behalf of female comedians out there, because, look, it is a bit of, it's that, I'm going to broach the subject, female comedians have it tougher than male comedians. I'm just saying that as a statement, whether you agree or disagree. And you might not have even, as you've just described your personal journey, you might not have even noticed it was just the way that you did what you did and where you got to where you got. Looking back in hindsight, if you were to give any advice to a female comedian, and not all female comedians are the tomboy persona that you represent, but is there any advice?
It's funny because there's different kinds of, the old saying, you either, is it an old saying or did I decide it was? I'm not sure. But you either, as a comedian, put down yourself or you put down someone else. So if you're going to be the kind of comic who puts down someone else, as a chick, you're going to cop it. Like you better be ready because you're going to get heckled. But if you're putting down yourself, better be good at it because no one wants to see, a pity party on stage. So it's kind of like the best advice I can give anybody, male or female, but particularly the girls, just be who you are. If you try to be a personality on stage or a different persona, the audience will sniff that in a heartbeat. And audiences, whether it's music, comedy or art, just if they sense any kind of non-genuine aspect, they're already stepping away from you. They don't even know they're doing it. It's a like almost a primal. When someone's engaging because they're telling the truth, you see the audience start to lean forward because they want to hear what's happening. But the second they think you're bullshitting or you've written a joke because you think it should be funny, not because you do, you see them disengage, they lean back, arms go across the chest, and it's very hard to get them back from that.
Yeah. I understand. Is there, I'm treading on eggshells at the moment because I want to make sure.
I can't punch you from here. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true. It's at least at least an 8.5 hour warning before you punch me in the face.
I drive an old Valiant, so it's probably more like a 12-hour warning.
12 hours. Okay, good. So I want to get into the head of a female comedian who's starting out and thinking, what can I talk about and what shouldn't I talk about? Is there anything that, and maybe I should be defining it a bit more. The parameters are for an Australian audience right across both genders, because I do know some female comedians are fantastic in that when they focus specifically on female humour and they do comedy specific to females, but that then pushes a lot of the male audiences away just through lack of context and understanding.
I reckon if you want to perform for all female audiences, and that's where you think your truth lies, that makes me sound like a giant wanker to phrase it like that. But if that's what you want your career to be, where you do comedy that's meaningful to you, that you want to do in front of a female audience, then have at it. For me, I'm a pub comic. I always will be. I love touring. I love jumping in a tour van and getting to a new town and going, what do we got here? I love the challenge of an audience that everyone else goes, oh, this is going to be tough. I go, fucking let me at it. Like, I can't wait. I'm standing side of stage, literally chomping at the bit to get on.
Yep.
And there's been many a gig where I'm standing at the side of the stage while hecklers are tearing either the MC apart or having a crack at the MC. I'm literally like, just let me on. Put me up the order and let me on. I can't wait to get at this. Like, for me, it's a little bit combative, but that's probably my personality more than anything else.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, if you want to do comedy just for a female audience and you want to further the feminist movement, then why would you censor yourself? Just do that. Yep. But don't do that and then step into a pub room and wonder why you get torn apart, because they're really, really different. It's a different animal, you know. It's like being a festival performer and just writing festival shows. Yep. They're wonderful, you know, and I've done plenty of festival shows, but that's an hour show where you tell a whole story or you have an arc or you have a bunch of callbacks. Yep. There's very little of that one show you can do in a 20-minute spot and make it punchy as hell as you would a pub set. Because it's written for a different audience. Yep. And, you know, festival shows are in theatres. People are expecting more. They've paid just to see you. In a pub, you've got to be punchy as fuck so that you can go on stage, smash it out, and then the next comic comes on and gets to do the same thing. Like, it's a different animal. So I think if you want to do one, do one. And if you want to do a crossover and you've got the skill set, that's great. But you can't do one in front of the other and then go, well, that didn't work.
Right.
Of course it's not going to work.
That's right. And blame the tools, not the...
Yeah. You know, it's like being a chef and going, I can't believe that, you know, people pay a lot of money to come to my very intimate restaurant, but then when I went to McDonald's and tried to cook that, it didn't work. I don't understand. Yeah. You know, like it's a high turnover versus an intricate little environment type thing.
Absolutely. Have you done the Bear Pit at the Exford Hotel in Melbourne?
I've done the Exford during festival.
Yeah, that would...
The Bear Pit.
I think that's the same.
You know, that's named after the Bear Pit in Edinburgh, you know?
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Did you realise that?
No, I did not.
So there used to be this late night show in Edinburgh during the festival, and it was as rowdy as fuck. And people would get glasses thrown at them. They'd get covered in, like when I say people, I mean comedians would get covered in beer. They'd get heckled to the point where, you know, you burst of tears and cry and storm off the stage. So I think it's probably taken its name from that, where it's, you know, it's pretty rough and ready. I actually find I thrive in gigs like that because...
Well, that's what I'm thinking, because that's Chris Franklin's world. And I just thought, like, you would walk into that, and I have seen, I've seen female comedians do wonderful in that environment. But as you said, punchy as fuck. I'm quoting you. That was a quote you just said about a minute ago.
The fast punchlines, the go. Like, I'm a storyteller, so in saying that, there's a laugh every 30 seconds. Because if you leave room to be heckled, then you can be heckled. I talk fast. I move around the stage. I'm kind of aggressive by personality, not aggressive in a dick way, but just in a, it just doesn't occur to me to think what other people think about me. It never occurred to me that, like, oh, that might sound a bit aggressive. I just kind of do my own thing, and some people like it and some people don't, and I don't really care. I get paid. I've created a nice little career for myself. I really enjoy it. Like, I love the tough gigs as much as I enjoy the fundraisers where it's a really delicate subject matter and you've got to show empathy and sympathy. Like, they're all challenges of their own that I really enjoy doing now that I'm a veteran, whereas early days, you know, trying to do a fundraiser for a mum that just lost her son, you know, to cot death, trying to do that as a 2 years in, you're going to die on your ass on stage. It's just no one's capable of having that much kind of performing compassion.
Yeah, no.
So it's horses for courses.
Yeah,
you know?
well, it perfectly explains why you decided to skipper the New South Wales State of Origin Women's American Football Team. What on earth? Have you been following American football, gridiron as they call it in Australia sometimes?
You know, just like stand-up, I fell into that. I moved home about 6 years ago. My dad got diagnosed with a couple of different cancers, and I moved home to become his full-time carer, which I still am. But previous to that, I was spending 3 months in Australia, just gigging in each capital. Well, I'd gig in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne for a month each. Then I would go to South Africa, and I would gig in Joburg, Durban, and Cape Town for a month in total. And then I would do a 6-month work visa in the UK each year, and then I'd do Canada on my way home. And it was a really cool little circuit, and I did it for, 7 or 8 years. Wow. And when Dad got sick, I moved home because I'm really close with him. And I found myself being in Sydney and only being able to do Sydney gigs, and occasionally, if he was well enough, maybe bolting up to Brizzy, doing gigs there and bolting down to Melbourne. But I found myself with time in my hands. I'm not going to say time on my hands. Dad was quite sick. I was always busy, but I found myself waking up in the same bed every morning, and I'm like, this is not how I've been for many years now. And there were things that you miss being on the road. You miss playing team sports. You miss that camaraderie of hanging out with the same people all the time. It felt like I was always saying goodbye to my mates and then saying g'day again. Yeah. But not really being in anyone's life very intensely. And so I remember thinking, Dad's going to get much worse before he gets better. I've got a temper. I need to let that out, and I should probably find something to do that. And so I started looking around different sports, but as a woman, you're not really encouraged to be violent. And if you are, you kind of seem like a bit of a freak. So I was like, what can I do? People really get... I mean, everyone's got an opinion on whether there should be women MMA fighters, but no one really gives a shit that the boys are doing it, you know? Like, I would say, fuck yeah, if I reckon I can do it, who are you to tell me I can't? So I was looking around for where I could let out the adrenaline and the aggression, and I watched a TV show that had a game of NFL in it, and I went, geez, I think I saw somewhere that was played here in Australia, and I Googled... like American Football Australia, and it popped up with the men's competition. And then I Googled Women's American Football Australia, and there was a competition starting that summer. Wow. Recruiting right then. Like, it had been launched the day before to recruit for a women's team. And I went, you fucking beauty. So I went along to one of the information days and just went, this game is perfect for me. Because it's brutal. It's really rough, but it's also quite smart in that it's really tactical. You have to execute your plays exactly the way they're meant to be executed, otherwise it all falls apart. So I went, what? I get to think and just knock people over? This is brilliant. So
what do you call it? Violent chess? Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. That's what I call it, violent chess, because you have to, smash shit out of people and get smashed. You have to be able to cop the hits as hard as you can give them.
That's right.
But you also have to keep your wits about you, which to me, I just went, that's perfect. So when I signed up for it, I mean, this is amazing. So I captained my local team, and we won the first premiership, and then I captained New South Wales for 4 years, which was a lot of fun. Just learning a whole new game.
No doubt. And it must be. Had you ever played rugby?
I played it. Yeah, not at competition level, because that was one of the places where they're like, we don't have any women's leagues yet, and you're not allowed to play as a girl. And I was like, oh, fine.
Oh, that's bizarre.
So we always just played like in the schoolyard and after school and stuff like that. Right. And
did you ever get frustrated? Did you get frustrated? I'm thinking, whether at league or union, you can run the ball forever, really, as long as you don't let it go or it's a down. But in American football, there's only one pass, I believe. It's a little bit more complex than that, but also a little bit more simple, if that makes any sense. No.
You can pass. You can only have one forward pass.
Okay.
But there can be like handoffs and stuff like that. So the quarterback can hand off to a running back who can run forward and then pass. Like, there are different ways to move the ball up the field. But what I do like about gridiron compared to league or union is that in league and union, you're only allowed to hit the ball carrier.
That's
Whereas
right.
in gridiron, you can hit anyone that's on the other side, which is just... I loved it. It was such a good game for me. I tore my ACL just on a year ago, so I've sat this season out. But I'm doing all of the rehab and all of the heavy lifting of weights to get back to play next year.
Did you squeal like a pig? Because I did when I did my ACL.
I wasn't meant to be playing that game. My dad had survived in that year, my dad had survived 2 rounds of radiation, and it had gotten, he had been very, very sick, and I tore 2 discs in my neck and got taken off in an ambulance while he was in, and Dad was like, if you become a paraplegic, they're going to put me in a home. Like, you can't keep playing this while you're looking after me, because he didn't want me to play anyway, because the amount of times I've come home in my lifetime with black eyes and bleeding and that sort of stuff. And Dad's like, will there be an end to this ever? You're in your 40s for crying out.
Will you grow up?
Yeah, just like, for the love of God, do I not have to worry about that phone call every day of my life? And so, he said, you've had a couple of concussions now, kiddo, and you've torn 2 discs in your neck, which some people don't ever recover from that. Like, how about you think about retiring? So I said that I'd retired, didn't, and then was playing in secret. So when it went, I had to pretend like I hadn't really hurt myself. And then when I came home, I had to pretend like I hadn't torn my ACL. And it was hilarious that I got out of the car and I was in agony. Like, it was just the most anything had ever hurt ever. And I had to pretend to walk like a normal human being. And I heard myself in my head go, how do human beings even walk?
Yeah.
How do you do this?
Yeah,
It was
right.
like heel toe. And I just looked like a really bad actor's impression of miming walking. It was awful. But no one noticed. And then I went out that night and said that I'd hurt myself that night, and I think I've done my ACL. So
there you go.
I reckon they knew, but they never called me on it.
Oh, good. Your dad doesn't listen to this podcast, I hope. You're safe.
I'm so filthy on stage that my dad's just like, must you say all the dirty things? Can't you just write a nice, clean corporate set? And I'm like, nah, Dad, sorry. If I want to do a job I hate, I'll go back to being an accountant.
Yes, that's right. Well, fantastic. So far, you've really gone deep, and we've talked a little bit about, a personal journey, which is incredible. I was just going to talk very briefly, because I know that you've got an appointment very soon. You've got to pick up some kids and...
My nieces and nephews. How fun it is being Auntie Julia? God, I love it.
Is it an older brother, by the way? Is that what?
Actually, I say Auntie Julia. They're my best friend's kids.
Oh, best friend kids.
So,
okay. I was just wondering whether...
So I get to be the funny, silly auntie who's often got a hangover or,
Good.
Everyone else in their world is very sensible, and then Auntie Julia's like, come on, get in the car, we're climbing trees.
Ah, yeah, right. I just wasn't sure whether the tomboy came from having like a bunch of older brothers who just treated you like one of them.
I think it's just in my DNA.
Yeah, there we go. Ah, beautiful. Now, talking about DNA, you are... you're very good at marketing. I have a question here where I talk about remaining relevant. So, you've done TV, you've done radio, you've written for the likes of Paul McDermott from Doug Anthony All-Stars fame originally. Of course, he is a comedian in his own right and a performer in his own right now. How do you remain relevant, particularly because maybe in the last 10 years with social media, and we're the same age, possibly, to the month. How did you make sure that you kept up with the youngsters, so to speak, with the way they absorb comedy?
I don't think it ever occurred to me to stay relevant. I wish I knew where this came from in my personality. It has never occurred to me to give a shit where I sit in the pecking order, what other people think of me. And it's not obnoxious. It just doesn't occur to me. I've never gone like, oh God, I wonder what people think when I put these jeans on. I kind of just live in my own little bubble of like, I'm having fun, so I'm going to keep doing this. Yeah. So I guess I stay relevant by doing stuff that I love. I think passion shows through. When you're doing something you enjoy, it's hard not to succeed at it. And I think the day I start trying to stay relevant or start trying to, I need to get on that bill because I need that producer to see me, I reckon it's all going to go pear-shaped.
Yeah, right.
I reckon you just keep doing stuff you enjoy. And, I have been stupidly lucky in my career that I've only ever taken gigs that I enjoy, worked with people that I like, and I'm so wear my heart on my sleeve that if I work on a bill with someone I don't like, I can't help but go, yeah, mate, you don't like me, I don't like you, so how about you just sit over there and don't talk to me? Like, I have no problem saying that at all, which sometimes works in my favour and sometimes I'm sure has cost me work. But I think the day I start considering that and factoring it in is probably going to be my downfall.
Well, there is a lot of politics in comedy, as I've learnt as an outsider. So you've just gone straight through the middle, gone, I don't give a shit. You can talk about me behind my back and be very transparent. Yeah, that's great. It makes you untouchable, which is a fantastic...
Well, it's one of those things in terms of being on stage. If you say what the audience, like anything negative the audience might be able to say about you, if you address that straight off, you're like, what else you got? And they don't have anything.
That's right. That's perfect. It's perfect. So, well, that's a good segue for my question is, how does someone see you on stage? What have you got coming up where either public or private events you've got?
I am very lucky that this year I picked up a bunch of Christmas corporate gigs, so Santa will be very kind to my friends and family this year, because sometimes they get lots of promises of stuff. I'm doing my actual club gigs. I've just worked my guts out before I went away to Hawaii, so my actual gigs are nice and quiet. I'm doing a Movember gig on the 29th of November in Newcastle. Yep. I'm doing the Mic in Hand in Sydney on the 6th of December. Then I think it all kind of shuts down nice and quietly. Yeah, that's kind of nice for me to be able to say, you know, the club gigs are quiet, the corporates are most days, and I'm going to enjoy the shit out of this Christmas.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then when someone hears this and goes, yeah, I'd love to have Julia, should be perfect for my event, whether it's a pub or a corporate event or MCing, how does someone get in contact with you?
Yeah, when I say corporate event, it's almost always like, we've got a tradies lunch.
A tradies lunch, yeah.
Someone that can hack it. On my Facebook page, not even my comedy Facebook page, just my personal Facebook page. I keep that up to date all the time. It's funny because if I talk about comedy gigs, I get 100 here and there likes and comments. Yep. If I talk about looking after my dad, 300 or 400 every time. My dad has his own Facebook personality. It's hilarious.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Does your dad feature in any of your comedy at the moment?
Occasionally he pops in, but being that he's still alive, I'm afraid that he'll find out about it. You know what? I might be bad, but my dad is fucking terrifying.
There we go. Yes. Wise. Well, fantastic. Well, Julia Wilson, thank you very much for sharing so much with me today and going.
Thank you for having me on the show. I've had a ball.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic, and I look forward to meeting you when I'm next in Sydney, which will be very soon, probably in February.
Excellent. I'll come pick you up in the Valley and we'll go for a beer.
Beautiful. Don't punch me.
I promise. Who would do that?
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, Julia.
No worries at all.